Throughout the rise of the talks of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, sexual assault, etc., and the Me Too movement gaining prominence in America and hopefully worldwide, one phrase has been uttered over and over again. It's a dangerous time to be a man. But is it? I mean, is it really? Because from what I can tell, the people who have faced any sort of repercussions are people with long-standing histories of these actions: sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and as such kind of deserve what they have coming. And the instances appear to be credible. And nobody's going to jail for this, so don't bring up innocent until proven guilty, because nothing in the Constitution prevents you from being held guilty in the court of public appeal. And if you really want to go the innocent until proven guilty route, well, I hope that you never said anything bad about Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, because at this point they should both be considered innocent until proven guilty, right? Right? Oh, right. That's different because they have different political opinions than I do, and therefore they're fair game. So, despite all the defenses and apologetics and the claims that one day these evil feminists are going to go too far, there don't seem to have been any incredible claims that have been made that have actually done anything. I mean, we've got a pretty good example of the opposite of this happening with the Project Veritas thing, where James O'Keefe, the guy who was behind the Acorn debacle, well, attempted to trick the quote-unquote liberal, left-leaning, biased media into running with a story that did not happen, and therefore prove that they were willing to take anyone's word that Roy Moore had assaulted them, and it didn't pan out. Of course, Project Veritas has claimed itself a victory, and a lot of people apparently believe what James O'Keefe is saying. But the reality is that people didn't fall for it. They investigated the story, and it came out false. I think James O'Keefe has done a better job at making this case than anyone actually could otherwise. Of course, you could argue that having a camera that large made it blatantly obvious that this was some sort of entrapment deal, but still, we seem to have evidence that these things are not taken out of political expedience, and we have instances that are examples of what a bad faith case looks like, and it hasn't happened as far as we can tell. And, you know, I've seen unironic, literal arguments where people have been all, you know, what? You mean I can't send a dick pic to a woman I barely know who has shown no interest in me? What sort of SJW fuckery is that? Because apparently not showing your penis to women who don't want to see your penis is some sort of terrible consequence. And I sort of think that's the problem here. I think that these behaviors that have become so entrenched in the concept of masculinity, this whole boys will be boys even when they're adults thing, that people are worried that their conduct is also going to be wrapped up in this, even though it seems to really stop at unwanted sexual advances. And I think I know how this is going to go, because I've been hearing this sort of concern trolling from people who are supposedly progressives and feminists since the Me Too campaign started. Well, what if somebody is falsely accused? That'll totally undermine every woman ever forever. And, I mean, that's kind of the problem, isn't it? The fact that if we can find one example of a man who was falsely accused, then the entire Me Too movement becomes invalidated, because men are once again the real victims of the situation. And I already know what the counter-argument is going to be here, because everything seems to go in extremes, so by saying that one instance or a couple of instances don't upset the trend, they don't stop the overwhelming body, instead it's going to be, so you think it's okay for men to be falsely accused and be punished for their wrongs? No, I absolutely do not think that. It's just that, as I just said, the overall trend is still going the opposite way. Nobody deserves to have their lives ruined by sexual allegations, but if you start taking a handful of examples and using them to try and buck the current trend, to try and cast a shadow over every single woman who's ever dealt with a credible sexual harassment or sexual assault or other sexual misconduct incident, then you are doing a disservice to far more people than you are actually helping. Thanks for listening. Amaranth out.